Mash is being born without magic, which is problematic since it is the most important thing in society. The individuals who can use magic have on their mark and face, while those without the mark are eliminated. While struggling, Branded finds the abandoned child Mash and raises him as the years progressed. He did a tons of powerlifting, and older Mash is presently a physical example. One day, against Regro's instructions, Mash visits the city to buy cream puffs, causing many to notice he is unmarked. Due to his unfamiliarity with people, Mash insults police officers Terry and his boss Brad, who try to arrest Mash since the unmarked are hated by God and should be executed as threats to magical society. Regro, who found Mash abandoned as a baby, refuses to give him up. The magic police catch wind of his presence, assault him and his father, but he manages to defeat them. Without magic, which shocks everybody, the head of the unit, named Brad, guarantees that they will keep on chasing him down, but he proposes that if Mash becomes the best student in magic school, he won't report him, as it would imply that society has acknowledged him. Brad provides Mash a fake mark so he can attend Easton Academy's entrance exam. Examiner Claude dislikes Mash, mistaking his airheadedness for laziness. Mash passes the magical demonstrations, confusing Claude that Mash can somehow lift boulders and run on water without using spells. For the last test, the applicants must escape a trap-filled maze. Mash encounters Lemon, a shy girl who sabotages Mash on purpose. Lemon is confronted by a monster, but Mash saves her, reassures her, then escapes the maze by simply smashing through the walls. Lemon, having mistaken Mash's reassurance and kindness as a marriage proposal, reveals Claude took advantage of her poverty to force her to sabotage Mash. Claude is disciplined by Headmaster Wahlberg, who gives Mash a test of resolve. Falsely suggesting Regro would die if he failed, Mash allows himself to be injured to save Regro. Passing the exam, Mash meets his roommate Finn, who is wary of someone as odd as Mash, but does helpfully explain that to become a divine visionary, Mash must collect the most reward coins among their year group by consistently scoring the highest on exams, research projects, club activities, and even popularity with classmates. Mash says, "Finn, can you lend me a broom for tomorrow's class? I actually bought a burdock thinking it was a broom." Finn says, "You thought a burdock was a broom? Okay, I will lend you one." Mash says, "I knew you were a great guy." Teacher says, "Today you will learn how to ride a broom. Channel magic energy into the broom and command it with the word fly. Then straddle it and regulate the magic to keep it afloat. Now begin." Marsh says, "Pops, I'll become #1 and restore our peaceful life. Fly it's not work." Then he used his leg to fly broom. Teacher says, "Now how fast can your broom go? We will now begin the time trials." Then Mash ready to fly with broom. The competitor says, "Idiot, unlike transfers, I have been riding brooms since middle school. The no way I did lose to someone like you. Prepare to get swept." Teacher thinks, "Mash, can he even ride a broom? All right, on your marks, ready, go." Mash using his strength to run with broom an instant. "What the heck did I just witness?" everyone says. Teacher says, "No, what incredible speed, a new world record has been set." Finn says, "I got a good look." As soon as she said start, he chucked the broom. Then he immediately jumped out towards the broom. He uses air resistance to decrease his speed, closed the gap to it, and mounted it in midair. How is that even possible? Mash says, "Can't face the facts. I feel kinda bad for you." "It's okay, I'll drop the bet. 2. I feel sorry for you." Then Lloyd stop him and say, "Sorry, my apologies for his rudeness. This guy here is my friend." Marsh says, "Well, okay." Lloyd talking to him, "He is totally the target now, we'd better stay out of it. He is the first victim in high school, everyone gossip." Lloyd says, "Anyway, what you did earlier really caught my attention. Would you like to be friends with me? I'm Lloyd Cavell, nice to meet you." Marsh says, "Spud Cabbage." Everyone silent. Teacher says, "What are you all doing?" "We're in the middle of class." Lloyd says, "You're pretty funny. You should come here again after school. I will be waiting." After that, Lloyd says, "As for you, why did you have to go and lose like that? That was pretty pathetic. You got made fun of instant," and punch his face. "What a loser are you?" Continue punching him, and says, "At last I found a good toy." Mash says, "Who was that guy?" Finn tell him that Lloyd is a continuing his student for the middle school division like me. Mash says, "So why is everyone afraid of him?" He says that's because he is the son of a high-ranking member as the Bureau of Magic. Even you must know that the Bureau of Magic is absolute in this realm. If you stand against him, you get expelled. The vice principal seems to have close ties with his family. They will force you to drop out. As a continuing student, I saw it happen too many times since middle school. That's why everyone obeys him. They are scared. After school, Mash make cream puffs and says it's fun to make some on your own every so often, and he also says I have to become the top student in this academy no matter what. I feel like I am forgetting something. Next day, Mash says next class is potions, so in his back his textbook is falling apart, and Time Lloyd come and says you didn't show up yesterday, or what were you doing? Mash says I'm sorry, I was making some cream puff. Lloyd says I had heard you were aiming to be the divine visionary. I am good friends with the vice principal, so I have some connections. If you do what I tell you, I could put in a good word for you. What do you say? Mesh says really I will do it. But why so suddenly? Lloyd lie and says you seem like a fun person and I want to help out. And for starters, carry those for us. And my shoes are dirty, wipe them for me. Next day, Mash and other textbooks turn up. He says, Finn, can you show me your textbook? Finn says sorry, ask someone else to. He said no, but Mash sit with him. Mash says you are really lifesaver and thanks for the broom last day. Those cream buffs are my thanks, but I really am glad to have a great guy like you for a friend. Mash says to Lloyd, I'm totally in your debt, you're my lifesaver. Lloyd says don't even mentions it. You've been a big help through the water and said sorry, I spilled some. Clean it up. Will you do it? Then Mash do that. Then one book fell from his clothes. Lloyd says next, I want to burn his clothes. Got that, Finn? Finn says I can't do this anymore. Then Lloyd using his magic and says you've made a mistake. You drop down and beg for forgiveness. He punish him. Mash searching and says where did Finn go? I accidentally took his textbook with me. Then he hear a sound to go there, see Finn's face bleeding. Mash says to Lloyd, what are you doing? He says getting an apology. Mash says to Finn, are you okay? Finn cry and says it was me the one who rained your textbooks. I was ordered to. I was too scared to disobey. But you kept saying I was a great guy. You call me your friend, but I did horrible things to you. I needed to apologize to you. I'm so very sorry. Lloyd says, if only you'd honestly apologize to me like that. By the way, I'm about to dine with the vice principal. Care to join us, Mash? You can leave that dirty little lackey here. I've been dying to introduce you. Mash grab his air and crash his head to the floor and says you're the one who should apologize. Do it again. Finn says that will get you expelled. Mash says, is that a big deal? He realizes and says maybe it is big deal. I might have done something bad. Vice Principal Foreman says yes, that right. You have done something bad. I witnessed the entire incident. Also said with false accusation, this was a violent attack on a student. Finn Ames and Mash Burn did. Surely you can see why if you think about it. You two and he are of different status. Different social status means different treatment. Then I will enlighten you idiots. This is how the world operates. Then Mash instantly kick his face. Mash says he didn't seem that open to reason, so I couldn't help it. Vice Principal says you assaulted me. I can expel ordinary students like you anytime. He tried using magic, but Mash instantly grabbed his face with dirt, picked him up and tried to bury him in the ground. Mash says you can expel me at any time. I can bury you at any time. Throw me in prison or cut my body in two, even if I have crawl over. I will bury you. Foreman says stop, but he didn't hear. The Bureau of Magic insists on Mash's expulsion, but he is protected by Wahlberg, who is increasingly tired of people like Lloyd corrupting the government and society. Instead, he offers Mash his full support in legitimately gaining the title of Divine Visionary. Mash's defeat of Lloyd makes him popular, so overbearing student Tom insists he join the Duello team, a popular sport played on flying broomsticks that rewards coins for winning matches. Mash is unsure what to do since he can't use magic to fly. Like, subscribe, and turn notifications on if you enjoyed the video.
The game of Duello continues as the Landdorm dominates. Due to his unable to use magic, all Mash can do is watch from the ground. Given the circumstance, he wishes he was home relaxing instead. In the meantime, in the crowd, Lemon and Finn are concerned that Mash still hasn't taken to the air yet. The team captain Tom comes down to give him a motivational speech. He expresses that Mash swore he could be number one, which he denies, truly saying Tom exhorts him not to be careless and makes a similarity to bamboo, which simply confounds Mash. He even starts to estimate that the captain might be high on the secretive in view of his illogical comments. Tom forgot to tell him the rules of the Quidditch clone. Both teams fight for control of the ball mid-air and score points by passing it through the opposition's ring. The use of magic is taboo, as the game underlines on broom skill. While he explains that Landdorm is going to score more points, Tom is enthusiastic about Duello because he always puts his all into every game he recruits. Mash, because he saw something special about him. He returns to his broom and hopes that Mash will join them soon. As he floats like a butterfly, the captain of the other team intentionally comes in like a bee sting and crashes into Tom, causing him to fall badly. Tom's fangirls start getting worried. Shouted the aggressor sarcastically apologizes and says it was an accident. Mash rushes in to make sure he's okay, but Tom tells him that her arm is broken lying down, another goal. Giving them a 40-point lead. Tom calls the anti-sense of sportsmanship, but they laugh at his cry and call it nonsense to them. All that matters is a winning mentality. The captain finds the situation amusing, with them down by such a significant margin that he knows they won't catch up despite his desperate situation. Tom tells Mash that winning isn't everything as one's effort and commitment are more important. The lead just keeps getting worse. The opposition is confident they have secured the win given the margin and time remaining, and they don't know they're upset, not to mention the fact that 2 of their team members went down. The Mash man picked up the broom and held it tightly in despair. He does his thing and jumps in the air to everyone's surprise, but someone says he stops in midair. Upon closer inspection, the students realize that he is maintaining his height with quick leg kicks, which shocks them. Mash asked his teammates to pass the ball. He is confronted by another group that rushes in, but take the ball away from him. They get a rude awakening when Mash throws the ball from a distance that jets past the opponent and into the ring, scoring his team a point. Everyone is surprised by the shot, but they still specify that the limited time and points gap is an unfavorable situation. A keen spectator notices the ball's trajectory as it comes back to Mash like a boomerang. They scream collectively in disbelief. He uses his unnaturally strong fingers to curve the ball in such a manner that he just continues to spam the shot like that one cousin who spam moves in a fighting game, and within no time he surpasses Langdon's score but continues till he sets a new all-time record. Lemon watches with heart-shaped eyes as the announcer declares Adler Dorm as the winner of the first a match of the season. The crowd go wild and they begin to apologize to Mash for their earlier heckling due to their record-setting score. The team were given silver coins. Mash inspects it, wondering why the shape is so odd. Finn is still impressed by how amazing that game was, and is dazzled by how quickly Mash has managed to get such a prestigious reward. Despite the fact that he is only just transferred, he is grateful for the admiration, but he doesn't think he will be playing the game again. Tom interrupts them with a call, and as he walks towards them, the girls start going wild as he approaches, and Finn thinks that he's coming to cause beef. However, it's the exact opposite as he hugs Mash while crying and thanks him for the clutch win. Later on, the magicless student's achievement is pasted in the newspaper, which Lance reads. He recognizes Mash from the entrance exam and destroys his picture as he recalls that he risked failing for a stranger. He labels him a naive student while opening his locks before picking him as his next target. The following, Mash sits in class as Tom tries to get him to come to practice, while Lemon attempts to get closer to him by offering to study all their classes as she holds a tower of books, but Mash is not interested in engaging in any of them. Finn doesn't want to be roped, and so he pretends to be sleeping. Lance comes in and interjects, expressing his wish to join the fun. Tom immediately. So this is his double marks and speculates that he's a first year since he has never seen him before. Lemon is aware of Lance and points out that he ranked first in the entrance exams. She comments on how cute he is now that she's seeing him up close. However, she stops her trail of thought because she has given her heart to Mash. The magicless student tells the newcomer that what they were doing wasn't fun, so Lance suggests that they change that. Mash gets up interested, asking if they're playing hide and seek. The top-ranked pulls out a bottle from his rope, pointing out that it is a special magic tool that is ancient. He opens the lid, which shrinks Tom, Lemon, and Finn before they are sucked into the vessel. He reveals that he is capable of trapping people. Lance informs Mash that if he wants them back, he must come to the forest, and then disappears. The two later meet at the designated place and Mash wants to know what all of this is about. Lance points out that he wants them to bet because just like Mash, he too is collecting the coins. He has 2 silvers at the moment, which shocks Tom, who makes it known that it is only a select number of upperclassmen that have them. It is revealed that line marks indicate the amount of magic power one possesses. Lance has 2, meaning he's really bad news. The majority of people are known as single-line men epic users. However, there are rare exceptions with multiple marks known as double-line magic users. They exist in the world at a rate of 1 in 100,000. These people are looked at as chosen by magic itself. Lance states that they will beat each other's silver coin in a match. They will fight until one can no longer continue or gives up. We learn that any other format of dueling is prohibited in the school since he has his friends hostage in a bottle. Mash doesn't have a choice but to accept. He points out that he has a huge advantage just by having the bottle as he knows about his selfless personality, but resting bitch face number 2 knows that he doesn't need this advantage to win. Lance points out that he was too soft by helping Lemon during the entrance exams. He is disgusted that he prioritized someone else over his own goals. Tom and Lemon advise Mash not to take the fight. The magicless student has had enough of the long talk and wants to start the fight. Lance showcases his power by clearing the land using a gravity spell. The clearing can be felt by Burned Dead. and Brad, who are lurking about still trying to keep an eye on Mash? The officer expresses his worry, which catches Brad, but he quickly explains that he is worried about his profits back to the fight. Lance has cleared the place, leading concentric rings. Mash comments on the flashiness of the performance, calling it unnecessary. Mash dashes towards him, which confuses the number one, who feels like it's a bit disrespectful to try and win against him. Without magic, he pins him to the floor with his gravity bell and begins to talk down to Mash, stating that he has no aspiration, so he doesn't deserve the silver coin. Lance, on the other hand, is certain that he will be the one who will finish on top. Mash tries to stand, but is unable to, as the number one states that no human can withstand his gravity. The magicless student plunges his hand into the ground and rips out a root which destabilizes the ground around Lance's feet, causing him to retreat. He lands in a lower position. His Mash stands up, looking down, and him asking if he too likes rolling on the ground. Mash wastes no time and dashes towards him again. Lance uses spell, but the magicless student increases his speed and escapes the area of effect and swings, but his target dodges. Lance notices that he's faster than earlier. As he retreats, he drops his locket, which lands near Mash. The guy opens it and finds a picture of Lance's younger sister. He confesses that he is overprotective of her. Mash returns it to him, and Lance asks him what the most precious thing in the world is. He feels like he has been put on the spot, but he answers saying that cream puff, human life, love and freedom are pro to him. But Lance thinks his answers are all wrong. Mash turns the question to him, and with a crazed look in his eyes, he states that it's his sister. The magicless student points out that his answer proves that everyone has different priorities, but Lance is disgusted and feels like the world is full of idiots because, objectively speaking, his sister is the most important. Mash just finds him creepy. The guy casually walks over to the edge of a cliff and dangles the bottle with Mash's friends inside. Lance explains that he's going to drop the bottle off the cliff and speed up the fall using his magic. When Mash tries to save them, he will be open for a finish attack. Lance explains that for the sake of his sister, he can turn into the worst monster. He has a flashback that explains his motivations. His sister became ill with an incurable disease that will strip her mark and magical power in the next 5 years. When that happens, they will have to hand her over to the authorities, who will exterminate her, as the genetics for non-magic users can't contaminate the gene pool. Lance promises to become a divine visionary so he can enter the Bureau of Magic to change the rotten system. His current action is to save his sister by any means necessary. He drops the bottle and activates his spell. As it gets down, he turns to Mash and is surprised to see that the guy has changed into his gym gear. The magicless guy warms up and enters. Spread your start position. He activates hamstring magic, trying to cap his magic power. Lance looks a bit confused as he has never heard such a spell. Mash's veins start to bulge as his muscles tense and aura can be seen around him as he prepares his big bang dash. Before he sets off, he tells Lance that losing and no rescuing his friends didn't exist as an option for him. He turns off the spring and in a moment he returns with the bottle in hand. Lance can't believe he recovered it in a flash. He wonders if Mash is using high-level physical enhancement magic. The student on the magic list says they should stop because Lance doesn't seem like a bad guy, so he doesn't think they should fight. Mash mentioned that the bottle he dropped was empty. He dashes and reveals the original and frees his friends. Lance admits the battle and gives him the silver coins and left all when so grateful for the preservation of his friend. This affection makes Mash immediately regret opening the bottle, which brings the episode in.
Things continue with Mash and Finn having a hot drink in their dorm. The magicless student inspects his 2 silver coins as it is revealed that it takes 5 pieces to make 1 gold coin. A series of complex equations play through Mash's head as he tries to calculate how many more coins he needs to get that gold coin. His number processing gives him an answer of 28. Finn can't believe his ears as he states that 5-2 is 3. Mash explains his wrong answer is a result of the trick question, then tells him that it's no trick and points out that Mash is not the sharpest tool in the box. The magic-less student swiftly moves on as he comments on how much of a peaceful day it is. Since they don't have anything going on, Finn agrees as they have a moment of silence to enjoy things, but this is quickly ruined when Finn remembers that they have an assignment that due. Mash is a little too calm about the situation. His roommates panicking become worse because the consequence for not submitting the potions assignment is bad. They will be severely marked down, which would put them at serious risk of getting kicked out of the school even with everything explained. Mash is more interested in eating his cream puffs as he offers Finn one. The guy scolds him a little as it's not the time for snacks. Mash then mirrors his room. Meets action as he panics inside the room. Their moment of hysteria is interrupted by Lance, who overhears everything, he begins to slate them for their loitering around. He even comments on how they are the textbook definition of slackers. From his speech, Finn suspects that he has already finished the assignment. He confirms this, which is to be expected of the top student in their class. Finn feels like the guy is simply flawless. Lance continues his criticism, stating that it is people like them who ruin their dorm's reputation. In the Magic Academy, there are 3 dorms. Students are assigned one based on their characteristics. Older is for students who exhibit extraordinary courage and conviction. Dorm Orca is for those who display willingness and wisdom. And finally, Dorm Lang is for those students who demonstrate ability and ambition. These 3 dorms are friendly rivals with one another and always try to display their principles and positions, which carries across the entire academy. Mash shuts Lance up by opening his locket, which has a picture of his younger sister inside. Since he adores her so much, her image knocks him out. As he lies there in bliss when he regains consciousness, he takes them to the kitchen, where he explains that mandragora is the secret to potion assignments. If one manages to silence their screams, then they become a universal ingredient in potions. Mash casually complains that it's another thing that requires magic. Finn points out that that is to be expected since it is a magic school. Lance shows them how it's done. He casts the spell, which causes the screaming vegetable to be quiet. He gives the 2 slackers some for them to practice on. Finn's first attempt is not successful as the vegetable continues to scream. Mash tries to help by pointing out that his center of gravity is unstable and his core muscles are weak. This confuses his roommate because core muscles nothing to do with the task at hand. The magic-less student lifts his wand and casts the spell, which has the exact opposite reaction. Vegetable's cries intensify. Finn watches in shock as he wonders how that's even possible. Lance points out that he should worry about his shortcomings. The top student instructs Finn to focus his magic on a single point and visualize gently caressing it as he releases his magic. He does as instructed and finds some success, which gets him excited. Lance comments that even slackers like him can be capable. Finn starts to think that maybe Lance is cool after all, and he decides to look over to see how his roommate is doing. The situation is dire, as he has managed to aggravate his mandragora to the point that it has grown several times bigger and more aggressive as it swings its limbs all over the place. It begins to attack Mash, but he dodges and casually slaps the vegetable into submission. It crashes to the ground out cold as he tells them that he too has calmed it down from what they have just witnessed. Finn begs to differ. Lance doesn't argue the point and moves on to the cooking of the mandragora. He explains that once the vegetables are asleep, they turn into a regular herb. He advises them to watch closely. Even though he thinks the process is somewhat simple, Lance turns into Gordon Ramsay as he blitzes through the steps and presents the complete potion. Finn is flabbergasted, as what he just witnessed was anything but easy. On the other hand, Mash feels like he understands the demonstration, which his roommate finds hard to believe. As long as it's not magic, the guy is confident. He goes through the process just like Lance, but instead of a potion he ends up with a cream puff, which sends Finn into stage 2 shocks. Lance feels like Mash is messing around, so he decides to go through each step with him carefully. Even the top student is surprised that he managed to make cream puff again. In his mind it is impossible, because he assisted him through the whole process. They just concluded that apart from fighting, he's pretty useless at everything else. Lance takes his time to let Mash know that he doesn't intend to ever lose to him again. He will also not let anyone else take the coins till he wins them back. But Mash is confident that no one can take them away from him. During that interim, They'll walks through the corridor and bumps into a student trio. They try to confront him, but he calls them a bunch of side characters before dispatching them. All the while in the Lang dorm, some of the students bow before a triple-line magic user as he holds a puppet. The guy has an elitist mindset as he states the trait of a ruler is a noble bloodline and overwhelming power that one cannot argue against. He dropped 6 silver pieces as he believes that the dorm he belongs to, which is Dorm Lang, should be number 1, so he orders his minions to seize all other dorms' coins. The following day, the students gather near the woods. They are interrupted by Dot as they speculate on their task. The redhead immediately expresses his adversity towards Mash since everyone is talking about him, and even comments that the guy looks like a backup dancer. His analysis doesn't end well when Lemon runs towards Mash, calling his name. She has a crush on him and she acts like a damsel in distress, hoping that he will protect her when they enter the forest. The fact that Mash also gets the lady's attention gives another reason to dislike the guy. He reveals that it's the main reason he wants to be a divine visionary so that he can purge the world of good-looking guys like Mash who take all the women. His little rant is interrupted when the teacher appears and announces that there will be a chance to attain bronze and silver coins in their exercise. He explains that their task is to exterminate the forest scorpions. They must bring the stone. Embedded in the defeated monsters' foreheads, most of them will only earn bronze coins. However, there are a few which are strong and are worth silver coins. These can be identified by square stones on their foreheads. Ordinary magic users don't stand a chance against them. Defeating such foes is what makes them Eastern students. They can do whatever it takes to survive with everything explained. He gives them the order to enter. Alerts Mash that he doesn't intend to lose to him. Lance's goal is to get a silver coin. They are interrupted by a whistle before Iron suddenly appears behind Mesh. He too is a double-lined magic user. The guy already has a problem with Mash and calls him arrogant. Iron attacks the magicless student with earth-based magic that land on Mash's gut. The teacher puts an end to it quickly as he tries to act innocent, but Mash gives him a glare which doesn't intimidate him. Iron even expresses his desire to inflict pain on the magical student before making his way into the forest. Mash gets up to attack, but Lance stops him and informs him that Iron is a year older than them. The guy is infamous for his misconduct. He has injured multiple teachers and students who he doesn't like, to the point that he has been held back for a year. The only reason he doesn't get expelled is because of his special talent as a magic user. Lance points out that it's a common trait among students from Lang dorm guests. They are an off-brand, slithering the top students. Attention is drawn when Mash expresses his relief that his cream puff isn't crushed. Lance figures that it was the reason why he gave Iron that look. The two make their way into the forest and Mash zones out and loses sight of Lance, but he bumps into who tries to pick a fight with him. However, they are interrupted when they hear a female scream. A true background character prepares to attack the girl for something that intervenes with a powerful exploded spell that finishes the guy promptly and rebukes him for attacking a lady. The girl interrupts and cutely thanks him. Her beauty takes Duck by surprise. He turns away to compose himself, feeling like he must play it cool. So he tries to respond in a cool manner that doesn't go to plan because she grabs his hand, which forces him to break out of character since her hands are so soft. She calls him strong, which further makes him lose his cool as he hits his head. In the interim, a loud bang makes the birds in the vicinity to flee. It is revealed that the commotion was caused by Iron, who just defeated a monster. With his goal achieved, he turns his sights to hunt for Mash. We cut to the group where they awkwardly sit on a log as the girl gets closer to the guy. Gets excited when their knees touch as she thanks him again. He tries to keep calm, but he shows why he's not a Chad as he knocks and acts strange, which kills the vibe. The girl tries to be polite and continues to praise him. She has ulterior motives and plans to move on to Mash next. She tries to use her charm to thank him too. However, since the magic list student a no skimp but a pure Sigma, he disregards her and tells her that he didn't do anything worthy of her thanks. This surprises her as it is revealed that she's using a spell to make men fall for her and it's not working on Mesh. She decides and adds more magic to the spell and it still doesn't work. She gives up and moves to the next part of the plan. She begins to tell that her sub-story of how Iron keeps threatening her because he wants to utilize her special type of magic. She seals things when she starts to cry that immediately stands up, promising to beat him to a pulp. Iron overhears and confronts him about his statement. He attacks them, but the redhead dodges with his new bae. Mash also evades easily, but is the one who steps forward to take on the villain, but Iron sees him as cringe. He promises to give a reality check on the pecking order before he can finish. Goes on the offensive with a powerful explosion attack. He then follows with a rapid fire and finishes things with a giant explosion. It even creates the signature mushroom. All the while, Mash casually eats a cream puff as brags, thinking that he has won the fight. Things quickly move to Lance, who has found Lemon, and Finn, who are happy that he's around to save them. Back to the fight, is shocked to see that Iron protected himself. His attack couldn't penetrate. The second year retaliates with a powerful earth attack that does big damage to the redhead. However, it knocked Mash's cream puff out of his hands. The magic-less student pauses for a moment as Iron insults. One can tell that he's not happy that his cream puff is on the floor. From the expression on his face, you know Iron is a goner. His laugh fades as the episode comes to an end. Barrett recovers from the attack he just received from Iron. He internally acknowledges that there is a big discrepancy between their magic powers favoring the older student. He tries to assess the current situation, looking over to Mash, who is still in shock that his cream puff was knocked from his hand. From the blank look on his face, Barrett doesn't think that he will be of any help, so he begins to rack his brain to come up with a strategy to get the girl out of the situation safely. Iron helps him out by proposing a little game after commenting on what a letdown the redhead is as an opponent. The double-line magic user tells them that he's willing to give them one chance. If Barrett and Mash can endure 5 hits from his magic, he will leave the disloyal alone. Iron even decides to follow the school rules and bet 1 silver coin. The girl expresses her worry about him taking such a bad deal, but Barrett interrupts her and immediately accepts the terms without hesitation. The girl continues to protest, but the redhead assures her that he will be fine since it's only 5 hits. Iron corrects him, stating that Mash also has to take 5 hits too. Barrett disputes this condition, as the magical student has nothing to do with their altercation there. Senior warns him that he doesn't get to decide. The redheaded agrees, and to Mash's shock, Barrett decides to take his hits too. Even Iron lets out a whistle, impressed by his guts, and wonders if he can take 10 hits. Barrett feels like he's responsible for antagonizing the fight, so he must see it through solo. Mash respects his resolve for now, and watches on as Barrett spreads himself, ready for the first hit. Iron casts the first strike in the gremlin manner, which knocks Barrett back, causing organic red paint to spill out his mouth. From the power behind that head, he knows he is in trouble. He falls to his knees for a moment, but quickly gets back up to take the next blow as Iron laughs. The girl watches in horror as he hits him with the rest of the prescribed blows. After the 9th, Iron is a little surprised that he's still standing, even though he's a little bloodied. The redhead smirks as he thinks about the tears that girl shed while telling them how Iron was harassing her. He is determined not to let those tears go to waste. As a reward for enduring 9 hits, Iron decides that the last one will have significantly more power than the rest. Barrett takes it head on and is sent flying back as he crashes to the ground. The senior is happy with his handiwork as the redhead lies there unmoving. He begins to mock, but suddenly stops when Barrett gets back up. As he confidently states that he's still standing after 10 hits, he stumbles over to Iron, hoping that he will keep his promise, but he collapses before getting to him. Iron continues mocking him for thinking he could still stand after taking clean hits from his magic. Barrett pleads to Mash to take the girl and run while he figures a way to resolve this with Iron. The ready senior hits the redhead with another strike, clearly showing that he has no honor. The redhead pleads again for Mash to save the girl, but her voice interrupts him this time as she calls him an idiot, which takes him by surprise. She comments that she knows that he's under her charm spell, but his behavior reeks of desperation. Iron feels that's a bit harsh as he jokingly tells her not to say that as she makes her way over to him, revealing that they are working together. Barrett genuinely looks heartbroken as they mock him for his delusion of thinking he's a main character. Ironically, he is one of them. He begins to get a little frustrated when they are relentless with the ridicule. Iron laughs with his mouth wide open, so Mash shuts it with a cream puff. The magicless student feels like the duo has gone far enough. He finally steps forward, stating that it's his turn to take the 10-hit challenges, points at Iron before pointing down while describing him as a scumbag, provoking his senior to come at him. Iron just stares at him in shock as cream drips down his chin. All the while Lance, Lemon, and Finn relax a little after defeating a monster. Lance is a little worried about Mash, but the other two are confident that he'll be fine. The top student in their class explains that there are different types of magic users. For example, white mages excel at scholarship and support magic, while red mages excel at combat. Mash has been mostly facing the former so far. However, any red mage past their first year is a tough opponent with that alone. But to add the double liner's natural enhancements, there will be some that are equal to or even stronger than Mash. Iron could be one of those back to the fight, and the senior is amused by Mash's statement. As he walks over and grabs Barrett, he comments on how he dislikes people like the two of them. He sees them as weak hypocrites that act tough and has the edge to crush these kinds of people so that they can snap out of their delusion. He prepares to slam Barrett to the ground for making his clothes dirty. Mash dashes and launches a punch, but Iron sees the attack coming and counters, which Mash barely dodges. It even draws a little residue from his cheek. Their senior laughs at the fact that Mash thinks he can win against someone who gained 2 gold coins during his first year. He brags that his base power is significantly stronger than theirs and hits Mash with multiple attacks. But the table starts to turn when Mash blocks one of his assaults and crumbles the rock. The magicless student begins to open and close his hands as he activates triceps magic. Iron finds this humorous since he has never heard of such magic because it's straight cap. Mash tenses his fist while he dodges Iron's attacks, but as he gets closer to his target, the magicless student punches his way through the rocks and lands a punch right on Iron's face. The girl can't believe what she's seeing. The Iron space begins to leak as he comments that this shouldn't be happening, as he earned 2 coins as a first year and his magic is top tier among the second years. After his words of affirmation, he launches an assault, but he casually walks toward it. He smashes through the spell and lands a shocking death punch on Iron. The pain from the blow is written all over his face as he struggles to breathe. He falls to his knees and profusely vomits with the second hit. He knows he can't win this fight, which shocks him. Mash towers over him as it is clear that he can't take another hit. The magicless student walks to the base of a tree and takes a seat like a boss, which confuses Iron. Mash alerts Iron that he's going to endure 10 hits since he thinks he's so much better than Barrett. Iron has a look of complete despair on his face as Mash informs him that he has 8 more to go. After giving him a moment to recover a little, the magicless student steps up to him again and asks if he's ready for his 3rd hit. The despair on his face only gets worse, which I didn't think was possible. A way out of this situation, the sound of a monster rushing towards them can be heard. Iron is surprised and ecstatic to see a monster with a star-shaped stone on its forehead. It is worth more than 1 silver coin. He plans to use it as an opportunity to escape as Mash fights it, but that plan is quickly shattered when Mash throws it away like a bad smell to everyone's shock. He apologizes, telling it that he's busy at the moment. The star on the forehead lands near him to be retrieved later. Iron can't believe his eyes. The magicless student tells his senior that he kind of feels bad for him, so he will stop his attacks. Iron doesn't say a word as he holds his head in defeat. Mash then turns to the girl. She starts to panic as she never imagined Iron would lose, so he turns to her damsel in distress act, stating that he forced her to do everything. Mash rushes over to her and hugs her from the back, assuring her that everything is going to be okay. She has a smug look on her face. Thinking that she has Mash caught by her charm, she realizes that it's not the case when the magicless student changes his grip around her. He then proceeds to suplex her textbook style, knocking her out instantly. Mash really living that equality life. Barrett can't believe what he just witnessed and concludes that Mash has some screws loose. After the test, everyone regroups and Lemon is very worried seeing Mash a little beat up. He assures her that it's nothing. Lance concludes that he fought against Iron. Finn is impressed that he managed to defeat an upper-class man. Barrett watches on as Mash's friends give him hype. The magicless student realizes that the red hair is a little down based on what the girl did to him, so he's happy when Lemon rushes over to him to show concern for his injuries. 2. Barrett falls for her and begins to act strange. The redhead then turns to Mash and officially thanks him for the help, but Mash comments that that is completely out of character for him. This annoys Barrett, who threatens to end Mash as it took a lot for him to say those words. Lance interrupts their little fight to inform Ash that he was targeted. He has heard rumors that Dorm Lang is hunting for coins, especially those from Adler Dorm. Iron must have picked a fight because of that. Lang is a dorm made up of the upper crust and their cronies over there. They value birthright above all else. These students will go to extreme lengths to prevent a lesser born from getting into the Bureau of Magic. Lance feels like the great war for the coins against the Magia Lupus, who are a group of laying elites, has begun. Lemon and Finn are a little scared to hear this. Meanwhile, Mash is not taking the whole situation seriously. The guy's pocket begins to glow gold as the 5 coins in his pocket come together to make a single gold coin. Barrett tries to make fun of Mash, but he uses the light to blind him. Mash doesn't see the point in the different dorms and has a flashback to their version of the sorting hat ceremony. In this version, students hold an ancient bone creature that reads the person's magic in mind and assigns them a dorm based on both. Mash was a difficult one as all he was thinking about was Cream Puff, so the creature put him in Adler. Lance gets back to matters at hand as he explains that the Magia Lupus are 7 distinguished students. Iron was just one of their lackeys. They have been aggressively grabbing coins to sway who the divine visionary will be, and since Mash has a gold coin that makes him prime target, so Lance advises that he keeps his distance from lying and that he should always move with doormates whenever possible. Mash throws his advice out the window. The following day, when he gets lost alone looking for his next class, he comes across a double door and goes through his usual predicament on whether to push or pull to open the door. All the while Iron has been punished by the leader of the Magia Lupus for losing a coin to Adler Dorm. The guy refuses his request for one more chance and turns him into a doll that goes and stands next to others who fail them. They are interrupted by Mash, who breaks their door as he wasn't sure on how to open it. He alerts the leader that he is holding and talking to a doll. The triple liner glares at Mash as he thanks him for bringing it to his attention.